So what dangers do methane emissions pose to our planet, and how do they contribute to global warming? I discussed these issues with Bob Howarth. He's a professor of ecology and environmental biology at Cornell University.
Well, methane release is a really big problem. Methane is the second largest greenhouse gas after carbon dioxide that's driving the global warming we're seeing now, and it's almost as important as carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide's warming the planet at about 1.6 watts per square meter. Methane is 1 watt, so it's almost as important. And both carbon dioxide and methane are critical to think about. Carbon dioxide, once it's in the air, will stay with us for thousands of years, and that's a problem. Methane won't. That's the good news. But if we want to slow climate change on the scale of the next 10 to 20 to 30 years, you cannot do that with carbon dioxide because of lags in the climate change system. We have to slow methane emissions in order to slow the current rate of warming, which is a critical thing to do. So methane's a really important gas.
In our story, we saw what is happening right now in the Pacific Northwest region of the United States. What are some of the other parts of the world that are seeing something similar? What other parts of the world should be concerned?
Well, methane's it's a global issue because of the global warming. And if we look at where methane's coming from, most of the methane that's in the atmosphere now is coming from human activities. Some of it's natural, but it's for every natural molecule that goes into the atmosphere, 2's coming from human activity. And the two biggest sources of that are agriculture, particularly animal agriculture, and the oil and gas industry. Here in the United States, the oil and gas industry is the largest source by far. Globally, probably animal agriculture is even more important.
And Bob, for those who don't know a lot about this issue, why should we care? Describe the bigger picture here if you can.
Well, my concern is with climate change. Human activities have warmed the planet by about 0.7 of a degree Celsius over the last century. Most of that's been in the last 3 decades. And for each of the last consecutive 3 decades, the Earth has been warmer yet than ever before in recorded history. In fact, ever before for hundreds of thousands of years. We are already seeing damages from that global warming. And if we double that again and go to, say, 1.5 or maybe 2 degrees Celsius, then we run a very high risk of hitting tipping points in the climate system, thresholds where we'll get into a runaway global warming, which will be devastating for society and ecological function. We're on a trajectory to hit those temperatures now in another 15 to 35, 40 years, something like that. So if we want to protect our future, we need to slow down that rate of global warming. And again, the only way to do that is to reduce emissions of methane. Simply concentrating on carbon dioxide will not be enough. We will reach those devastating temperatures in that time scale.
What about other countries when the regulations aren't the same? Everyone has a different way of cutting back. How does everyone get on the same page?
Well, I think we need to move other countries along. The United States has been slow to come to methane. The president has now put out some methane regulations, and they're a start. I don't think they're enough even in this country, but it's a big step forward. I mean, half a dozen years ago, I don't think any politician or the public realized the danger posed by methane. Scientific community has been slow to fully appreciate that and articulate it to the public. But there's a strong consensus now in the scientific community of the need to do so. So I think we'll see more attention paid to it in other countries.